made you kind of co-host as well, just in the 2021 possibility that anyone's Wi-Fi does waver. We've got two of us who are co-hosts, so we have it will continue the whole way through.
There's a bit of a storm coming, I think. I don't know if it's just us, but the Wi-Fi has been a bit iffy today. So if it cuts out for some reason, I'll connect to hotspot. But yeah, feel free to just, you know, fill in the gaps if you need to.
That's great. I know it does feel like it's coming everywhere, doesn't it? Like I can see the storms definitely coming in North London too.
No, it was so promising to start with as well. Just, you know, having a bit of sun and felt like spring, and there's daffodils. And yeah, now it's a bit more grim, isn't it?
So I can see there actually are a few students already kind of joined us, so well done everyone that's a bit early. Lena, I know that you've popped in the chat box about Slido. I think that we'll introduce that at the beginning of the session, and if that doesn't seem to be working for you, don't worry, I can drop you a message and send you the link and see if we can get that working for you, so don't worry about that. But students, well done for being a little bit early. Because you do kind of have quite a few minutes, those students who are already on the line, I know the majority of you will already be signed up, but I've actually popped a little link in the chat box for anyone in the next kind of 5 minutes or so while we're waiting for other students to join. If you want to go and make sure you're signed up to us, and I popped that in the chat box, so do use these few minutes to do that if you have a chance.
Ellie, can you see the Slido reference, the hashtag, or is it just fallen off the screen for you? It might just be me.
It's literally just fallen off the screen. I could see it before, but it's just fallen
no
off
problem.
there.
What I might do is I might just quickly go out of this one then and see if I can just, oh gosh, not mail, don't want that. See if I can somehow, how do I do that? Oh, escape, here we go. I'm just going to edit that, move it up a bit so it's easier to see. Oops, that wasn't a very good idea. There we go. Maybe that will be marginally better. Cool.
Yeah, that looks great.
Looks a little bit better. How's your day been, Sarah?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been all right.
Good, good. Have you had a career focus day today?
No, I've just finished in the virtual park, so that was all right. That was fun.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to that today.
I was doing the welcoming, so I was just repeating myself. So towards the end, I was
on
like,
repeat.
Yeah.
I really love to use that more for students actually in this age group. So it'd be good when we have more of those. Cool. Got a few more people. Welcome everyone. 42 now. Let me know, Ellie, when you want me to get started.
Yeah, I will do. Welcome. Yeah, like Scarlett said, welcome everyone. I think we'll give it a few minutes. I know that everyone's kind of first week back of school and getting online, so let's give them a few minutes and then we'll kick off. But what will be quite nice actually is any students who are on the line, why don't you just say a little hello in the chat box? I always remember the first person's name who puts in the chat box throughout the whole session. So anyone who wants to kind of say, hi Victoria, that's great to see you. Everyone do kind of put a hello. It's really nice to kind of see you, and well done for being on here on the Wednesday of the first week back physically in school. I know that you must be exhausted and it must have been quite a strange week, but yeah, hi, well done for being online, and we're going to kick off in a few minutes, so great to see you on here.
I think somebody, Lena, has mentioned that there's an issue she's having with Slido. So I don't know if anybody else has tried it and they're struggling. It'd be good to know if anybody else is struggling to access it.
I think the hashtag is case sensitive as well, so just careful with the capitals if you are trying to join, because that might be the issue.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually. So I think somebody's just said, can we send the Slido link in the chat? I don't know, Sarah, if you've got the ability to do that, have you?
Yeah, I've just put the link in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, brilliant. I know that we will have some people kind of trickling on, and you're only 1 minute past, so we're not late at all. And don't worry to anyone who will join us in the next few minutes or has joined us just now. But I'm conscious of time, and we promised you a 5 p.m. start, so we're not going to be too long after that. So like I said just now, my name's Ellie from PwC TM, and maybe a familiar face to quite a few of you. But I'm just really excited to be on the session today, and don't worry, it won't be too much of me talking. Like I always say, I am not the expert, and we have the experts on the line to kind of host the session. But I am here throughout the whole session today to make it as easy as possible. So any of those kind of technical questions or issues or anything like that, you know, I'm here for that. Lots of people have proved to me already that you can use the chat box because we've got lots of hellos, so that's great to see you using that. So you are able to use that, but there is also a Q&A box on there. So I'm not going to steal too much of the time, but just make sure that you make the most and get the most out of today's session. There's some really exciting opportunities that are going to be spoken about today, and I am here throughout, so don't worry at all. Well done everyone for being on today, and we're just really impressed that you're using your time after school to learn a little bit more, to find out about some more opportunities, and that's the type of people that are definitely going to be the right type of people to be moving forward with these kind of opportunities. So really well done for being here, and do kind of get the most out today. Ask as many questions. There's no such thing as a silly question, so go ahead and ask them and make the most today, and we'll hopefully be talking about applications and things over the next few days. So do try and absorb as much information as possible, and enough of me, and over to you, Scarlett.
Thanks, Ellie. And just to echo what you said, you know, there is definitely no such thing as a silly question. And we really want to make this as helpful to everybody as possible, and give you as many hints and tips as we can. If for any reason there are questions that don't get answered today, you'll notice on the screen there that there's the email address as well. So if there are any follow-up questions you think about and you just want to note down that email address, then please do, or just take a quick picture on your phone, and you'll be able to reach us afterwards. But as it says, I think the technology is set to everybody being on mute anyway, but just in case, if you can all remain on mute unless you have a question and you've got the ability to take yourself off mute, then that's perfect. It just means we can get rid of any background noise. That's all the kind of sort of slightly more dull sort of tech side of things. So I'll just move on to the more exciting stuff if I can. I'm just in the process of trying to move the slides, so hopefully it will let me do that. Here we go. Perfect. All right. So as hopefully everybody will know, what we've wanted to sort of do for everybody tonight for this session is just give you a bit more of an overview of what the Virtual Insight Week opportunity is all about. Hopefully give you a really good overview of the sorts of things it would cover, give you any hints and tips around the application process, and also you'll get to hear from some of the staff as well that have been involved in that programme or through the selection process, so that again you can speak to people who were in your shoes not too long ago. So my name's Scarlett. I look after the National School Strategy, a lot of everything we're doing today. And Sarah, who you're assistant on Slido, and Sarah's there to support with any questions that you might have. Sarah, I don't know if you want to do a very quick hello and intro.
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Sarah, and I joined the student recruitment team in August, and basically this is my year in industry. So at the end of this year, I will be going back to uni in Leeds. And yeah, that's a bit about me.
Yeah, and Sarah's fab and has such a good sense of humour. So if I get the chance for Sarah to, Sarah's looking at me like, don't do this to me. If I get the chance to have Sarah speak at any point, I'm sure she'll lift everyone's spirits. So anyone that's new to joining, you'll just see the hashtag there for Slido. As Jake mentioned, it is case sensitive. So if you're having any trouble, just do make sure that you're putting it in exactly as how it's shown there. We will have a few other ways that you can get involved in some interactive things, but as I've said before, if you have any questions throughout that you just want to ask, then Sarah can take a note of those and we can look at those later. So in terms of what we're covering, I know some of you would have potentially come to our previous workshop, so we're just going to touch briefly on who PwC is, and then we'll go straight into what the Virtual Insight Week is all about. We'll talk about what that could then lead on to in terms of future opportunities. As I mentioned before, we'll get to hear from some of the staff that are working and are actually on and living for those programmes and entry routes. We'll talk about the selection process and the different steps that you take, and then they'll have an opportunity for questions at the end. So we'll have all of those staff who are here ready to ask questions in a sort of panel type format for you. So hopefully that will be useful to everybody. The first question, some of you may have answered this before, but it's always good to hear what people think. So if you can use Slido and just let us know what does come to mind when you hear PwC, be great just to hear your thoughts. So I know, Sarah, you're monitoring it at the moment. Let me know if anything comes through.
So the first answer that we've had come through is accounting, which is usually quite a popular answer.
Yeah, definitely.
Big Four, professional services, a big accounting firm in London, and that's an interesting one.
Yeah, so that is really interesting, and I'm sure there'll be lots more things that come through. What I always find fascinating is the answer around accounting, because without a doubt that is our bread and butter. Accounting is what we've been known for many years, but I always say to students and anybody that I know that when it comes to PwC, we have changed so much over the last 10 years, and the type of work we do is so diverse. You don't need to be interested in accounting. We have opportunities in areas such as consulting, which is very varied and project-based. You could be studying any subject to apply to something like that. And we work on all sorts of, like I say, different types of challenges and projects that businesses would need our help with, from designing a new app to coming up with a way to help a client enter a new market. So very varied stuff. We're also a firm that has lots of different departments that, you know, every organisation has. So we've got marketing, we've got HR. So if you were to move into the firm and potentially wanted to explore those options later on, that's also a possibility. Technology is also a really big part of PwC, and it's our fastest growing area. So I'll go through that a bit later. But yeah, it's great to sort of just understand what everyone thinks when they first see PwC. So I alluded to the fact that we're quite large. We have 20 offices in the UK, so not just London. And one thing I always try to mention on this sort of session is that when students think of London, often the area they think they must apply to because it's where the best opportunities are. And whilst London is a brilliant place to work, and I grew up around there actually, I think the regions is actually where there's the highest level of growth, and you can have just as good, if not better, opportunities in regional offices. Often there's slightly more variety as well. The living costs are often cheaper, and the regions have all of the same different departments that you would get in London, as well as some really swishy offices, just like the London office would be as well. So that's worth contemplating. We also have around 20,000 employees in the UK, as it mentions on here. So a really big firm to work for. And if anybody's interested in those global opportunities, we're actually in 155 different countries. And so that's a real possibility. Even if you haven't finished your program, sometimes there are opportunities with clients where you might need to travel abroad for a week or two or longer. So that's quite exciting. And the stat that often jumps out to me is the fact that we work with over 25,000 different clients. So that can be anything from your massive big blue chip companies to celebrities that need help with their tax, to charities, to startup businesses that have originally appeared on Dragon's Den. It's really endless. So I think one of the great things about working here is that privileged opportunity we have to work with such a variety of different businesses. And I think if you compare that to maybe working for just one company where you're only seeing the types of things that are happening at that one particular business, here at PwC, you're working for PwC and seeing all of that, but you're also seeing all of the things happening across these different companies, and often working with quite senior people at those clients as well. So I think you do have the opportunity to learn a lot. And yes, one of the UK's largest recruiters as well of school leavers and graduate and undergraduate opportunities as well. So hopefully that just gives you a good feel of the type of firm that we are. I mentioned before that we have loads of different roles. So we have things like deals as well, and we do take school leavers into that area, and that's kind of similar to investment banking. So if you like finance, but you also like the idea of a bit more variety and consultancy type work, then deals would be a really good area for you. We have our legal area, which is more kind of focused towards graduates that want to go down that pathway. And then, a whole host of others, which I know you can obviously research for yourselves on the website. But, whatever you do, I would say the other thing that I've noticed about PwC is that if you look at any of the senior people, very few of them have had just a linear career path. They've all gone and done different things. And I think that's another benefit of working for somewhere like PwC, that you do get that opportunity to try all different things. And, let's face it, it's quite scary choosing what you're going to do at your age. I mean, I think I probably had about 5 different career options that I was considering every week, because it's just so exciting, but it's also really scary. And I think PwC really recognises that, so that, if your career aspirations do change after you join, there is that scope to explore other things, whether it be in the UK or elsewhere. So I suppose just to give you briefly an overview of our culture, I like to think we are a fairly fun bunch. I've never been disappointed by the people I've met at PwC, and I sometimes get asked that question, do you look for a certain type of person? And I would say, to be honest, no. We definitely don't want clones. We're a business that really value difference. And that's reflected by all the things that happen in our firm. We've got every network you could ever think of, from religious networks to sports teams. When I was based in the Bristol office, there was a running club that happens at lunchtime and sometimes after work. We have a pantomime that would, normally in non-COVID times take place, and that raises money for charity. And we have a certain number of volunteering days where people can get involved. As you can see there, zorbing, and if you like singing, you can get involved in the panto or loads of other things. So, if you're wanting to join not just a firm that has good opportunities, but also is going to allow you to connect with people that share similar passions and values to you, I think that's another great thing that is offered here for sure. I'm just going to open it up to anybody else that I know is joining me on the call, because I'm sure you've all got your own personal passions and experiences, and it'd be great if there's anything that you've joined or you've particularly enjoyed about some of the networks available at PwC? Jake, if you've got any sports, for example, that you used to get involved with or anything like that?
So it's been hard, obviously in COVID, to get involved too much. I've managed to get into the office a few times in the past 6 months, but all the virtual events that are going on are great because they're kind of keeping the engagement and like the community sense still there. So there's loads of social events. Got sent a hamper at Christmas. There's like events where they send out cocktail kits or truffle making and stuff like that. So sadly nothing in person.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, they do still definitely have that kind of social and that community side to things.
I can add
That's
that
really good.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to mention, I know you talked about the Panto, and actually within UKIT, which is the business unit that I sit in, my team actually used GPT-2, which is a machine learning tool that DeepMind had put out to write the script of our pantomime. So we had a machine learning script, which was quite interesting when they performed it, to say the least.
Wow, that's great. No, I love all of that. I mean, the other thing I was thinking that I know people used to do, they used to have a book club at Bristol, they used to have a netball team, and you know, if you're interested in languages, that's another thing to bear in mind. There's sort of various discounted language courses available that you can do, and something people often don't know is that we actually have our own internal careers service as well. So it's maybe not quite as exciting as a curry night, but it's a really useful resource for people who want some kind of on-the-job coaching, some advice on where to go next with their career. Sometimes they can give you some tips on your interview technique, particularly if you're applying for an internal job. And I don't think there are many companies that have that service, I think, which really demonstrates the investment they put in your development. So I've used it a couple of times and have found it really useful. Cool. Okay. So on to, I suppose, what the next steps would be. So you've got your Year 12 Virtual Insight Week, which we're going to tell you more about in a moment. And that's taking place on the week of the 26th of July. And basically, no matter what it is you're interested in, whether you're thinking about joining a firm straight after leaving school, or you're thinking about going to university, or maybe you want to have an integrated experience where you have placements as well as a university experience, you can do all those things effectively with us, and there's no right or wrong. It's very much down to personal choice. With pretty much all of them, you gain a qualification, you gain work experience, a competitive salary, and when it comes to responsibility, sometimes people think, well, if I join a school leaver program, for example, rather than go down the university route, will I just be making cups of tea and coffee? Will I be given real work? And I can definitely assure you that whilst you get a lot of support, you will be given real work from pretty much day one. You'll get access to clients. And I know, Jake, from your experience, and also Megan's, of being on that school leaver program, you'll probably allude to that later when you give a bit of an overview of your career journey. So I won't steal your thunder and share too much of that now. But yeah, going on the Year 12 Insight Week program, I think, is great because it touches on a lot of the skills employers look for. Even if you decide that PwC isn't right for you, I would like to think that so much of what we cover is relevant to anything you might be interested in business. And just to hear from people and to understand what the different roles look like, I think is also invaluable. So I'll go through now just what the Virtual Insight Week actually looks like, just to give you a flavour of what to expect. So you'll see also there's a QR code there, and I'm sure Ellie has shared many times with you the link, that if anybody wants to take a picture of that, you'll be able to have a look, and it'll take you straight there. In terms of what we cover, this is basically a program for anybody that's interested in business, technology, or any of the roles that we've got, accounting. And the idea is that you'd have, as I mentioned, an insight into all of those different areas we recruit into. It's actually a really flexible program too. So unlike some of the other programs out there that some of our competitors run, we're not expecting you to sit at a computer morning and afternoon for 5 days straight. You're very welcome to do so, but I understand everybody has different passions and interests. So we've tried to make it as flexible as possible so that there'll be live content, recorded content, and you can pick and choose what it is you're interested in. We also want to try and make sure that the information we give is relevant to you. So for some of you, particularly say if it was a tech program you're interested in, you might already be studying computer science and might already have quite a good knowledge of what technology is all about. So rather than give you a session on stuff that is probably already obvious to you, we have advanced sessions for those sort of students that already have a basic knowledge. And we've tried to do that across all of the different areas that we're going to be sharing information on during the week. And the main thing also is actually meeting our people, because whilst you'll hear from people like me during the programme and talking about all the employability, I totally appreciate I'm far less excited than the likes of Jake, Megan or Kirfi, who can really bring it to life and actually tell you, the good, the bad and the ugly. We'll always be honest with you, and I'd really encourage everybody to ask questions today and beyond, to not just us but all employers, to find out what is it really like, because for every job, for every career, there are always pros and cons, and it probably will vary from person to person, but we're really happy to answer honestly anything that you want to know, because I think it's important that you make a really informed decision. Again, people that are sharing stories and career journeys later, feel free to be honest and share anything that you think would be helpful. And as I mentioned, we'll definitely touch on what kind of skills you might need for interviews, assessment centres, game-based assessments, all of that stuff too. Okay, so I'm just going to touch on the school and college leaver programme, and shortly you'll be hearing from some of the staff just to bring this to life. So the apprenticeships or school leaver programmes where you join straight after year 13 or equivalent would be anywhere between 2 to 4 years long, depending on the line of service that you join. And when we say line of service, we basically mean department. It's one of the sort of terminologies that we use at PwC. It's a full-time salary. As I mentioned before, you gain a qualification which is fully paid for. So you get that college experience, but without the debt of going to university. You have that client exposure, that real work. You have a career coach and a buddy who's assigned to you, who helps you with your development. Join maybe a year before or up to get my printer to work or my laptop to do something. So lots and lots of support and really good career progression. Most people that join on a school leaver programme then later merge onto a graduate scheme. So if you're thinking about fast tracking your career, I think this is a really fantastic route, because you're then able to, compared to friends, particularly any that take a gap year, be far ahead of them if you know that this is what you want to do. So I'm going to hand over to Jake, as promised, just to give an overview of his experience so far. So over to you, Jake.
Thanks, Sarah. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming along. So yeah, as mentioned, I'll just kind of dip into my journey from school and college and up to where I am now. So as mentioned, I'm on the school and college leaver programme. So I'm a hire apprentice in consulting. I'm based in the Manchester office. So throughout school, I didn't really enjoy the lessons and learning. I was quite an all-rounder. So I did quite well in my subjects, but enjoyed messing around more than paying attention. And I didn't really apply myself. So I went on to college, where I studied maths, business and accounting. And from a young age, I never really wanted to go to university. So some of the challenges I faced in college, 6 months in, I had started applying for PwC's Insight Week, which I attended in 2019. And around this time, one of my good friends passed away. So this was a massive setback in terms of kind of focus and motivation, getting myself into college and so on. But having the Insight Week to look ahead to kind of gave me something to look forward to, and was motivation for me, gave me something to work towards. So through school and college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So as I said, I was quite an all-rounder. I did quite well in all subjects, but at the same time, I loved sports. I quite enjoyed music. I really had no idea kind of where I wanted to go after college, but doing the Insight Week kind of helped me learn more about PwC and kind of realize that it was something I was interested in. And obviously that's paid off because I'm here today. So other challenges I faced through school was, as I said, not really paying attention or applying myself, never doing homework or revising. So I got to college and I thought, right, I'll get my head down 2 years and work hard, organize myself, start revising and doing what I need to do. I had a challenge of not sitting my A-levels, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because I got a few months to relax before I started my job here. And obviously I had to achieve a certain level of grades to get my place on the apprenticeship scheme. So a bit about my career and what it's like at PwC. It means a lot to me. Obviously at the moment there's not much else to do apart from work, which is good and bad. So I'm proud of myself, obviously, for getting the job. My family and friends are all proud of me, and it gives me just chances every day, every week to upskill myself, learn new things, develop myself, and kind of set a foundation for my career. Balancing work and life at PwC is really good, honestly. So to an extent, I kind of decide the hours when I do work. Unless I've got calls booked in, I could start early if I want. Could start at 10 o'clock if I'm not very busy. Take breaks whenever I want or need them. Obviously, as long as I've got nothing scheduled. Put my laptop and phone away at the end of the day, and just make sure I put time in the day to do things I want to do outside of work, which given is not a lot at the moment, but you know, exercise, go out to get food, so on. There's always time for that. So yeah, as I've mentioned, I did do the Insight Week in 2019. So I kind of learnt more about consulting, about tax, about audit, and decided that I wanted to go into consulting, mainly because of how varied the work is, partly because I love to travel, and there's a lot more traveling in consulting than the other two, from what I understand. So about the scheme, I'm sure you may know some about it or may hear some more, but it's a 2-year scheme as an apprentice, and across that 2 years, I'll do 4 rotations of 6 months on different teams, doing different projects, learning different skills. In the second year, I'll start working with clients and on real, what they call chargeable work. So this first 12 months is all internal roles at the moment. So that gives you an opportunity to learn a lot of different skills, learn about a lot of different topics, and just get a good variety of kind of experience about the business and kind of understand where you want to go going forwards. And working for PwC, really interesting. It's challenging, but at the same time, it's really rewarding. And as I said, there's loads of development, loads of learning, and a huge amount of support. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, even now or at the end of the session.
I had a question come through for you, Jake, actually on the chat, and I have just answered. But the question was leading towards wanting to work in another country and worrying that not having a degree might prevent them from having that flexibility of moving from the UK to another country. I just wondered if you did know of anybody that are in that school leaver program that have moved abroad.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I know anyone that's actually moved abroad completely, but I know a few people that started on the same program that I'm on, and within their second year, I know one girl that went to Madrid and she went to, I think, Barcelona maybe in the same year to do client work. And I know other people who've done similar things, gone out to like Amsterdam or America, Canada to do bits of work. And there is kind of paths you can take to maybe go and work for the firm in a different country for like a year, 2 years, on what they call secondment or on a career break. So there's real opportunity to kind of go abroad and see the world. It's not just a myth. It does happen.
Yeah, definitely. I know lots of people that have kind of moved over to the Cayman Islands or Australia. I don't know the stats on the difference between school leavers and graduates having that opportunity, but in my mind, I can't see any restriction for why you wouldn't be able to move across. We actually have an internal team called the Global Mobility Team that actively help people to move across and look at any of the difficulties that could be immigration related or similar, and they're usually pretty good at working them out.
Yeah.
Sarah, have there been any questions that have come through for Jake on Slido?
Not through Slido, only the ones in this Q&A. Yeah.
I've seen one about contacting for more info.
That's
I'm
no
not
problem.
sure.
I can see that somebody said, oh yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, your connection's dropped.
Yeah.
And what was that spelled?
Oh, can you hear me, guys? No, that's okay. I was just going to say, in terms of contacting us for more info, I would say if you can contact us through the school's inbox and then we can pass that on to Jake, that would be great. The reason we're not able to have individual one-on-one conversations is more for safeguarding to protect everybody. We do say if you do it through the inbox, then the student recruitment team can monitor it, and then that way we can make sure that gets to Jake if there are any questions.
Also, don't worry, Scarlett, we will be getting in touch with everyone.
Keep thinking of them. We're going to have the panel.
Yeah, we'll be getting in touch with everyone from
the
pathway side after today. So any questions that are unanswered, then don't worry, we'll be following up with everyone. So yeah, any questions for Jake, we can make sure that they probably will come through throughout the session. But yeah, I thought that was such a good overview, Jake, and it made me think of like bringing it to life of your journey really from school, about those deliberations and the fact that the insight we gave you, that motivation, I think at the moment will probably resonate quite a lot with the students on the line at the moment. There's so much uncertainty out there, isn't there? So it's really nice to have those things which people can apply for and can kind of set themselves to.
Definitely, yeah, I think so.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Jake. As I mentioned, there's going to be a Q&A at the end for all of our panelists. So do keep thinking if there's anything else that you want to ask towards the end. So just moving on then, if I can, I'm just going to move on to technology. The big thing, I suppose, for technology is that it's really disrupting in a good and sometimes a challenging way how we work in business. And to sort of have a think about that in real terms, you probably can imagine all the companies or businesses or shops that you used to go in that no longer exist, and not just because of COVID or Brexit, but because they've not always necessarily thought about the future and how technology is so important to invest in. As I say, for some of those businesses, they have missed out, or they have disappeared off the market. So just to put a question out there, can anybody think of a company or lots of companies that have disappeared from our high street because they didn't keep up with technological change? Feel free to put it in Slido and we'll have a look in a few moments. Just while you're thinking about that, there's a question on the Q&A chat, which was just around, do we ask candidates to take numerical reasoning tests? The answer is, to some extent, yes. So we have the game-based assessments, but there's also a numerical element to that. But what we're going to reference later, and there will be a slide on it, is something called our PwC Employability Hub. And that gives you lots of hints and tips to help you practice. And I imagine if you Google game-based assessments, there are loads of companies that offer free resources. Your school might offer free resources. Pathway might be able to share some great stuff with you as well. So I definitely recommend Googling the PwC Employability Hub, but just doing as much practice for that as you can. But I will touch on it again later. So over to you, Sarah. Have any company names come through?
Yeah, we've had some company names come through, some who I didn't even think of myself. So we've got Debenhams, Woolworths, HMV, Blockbuster, Topshop as well. And those are the ones that we've had come through.
Yeah, no, that's great. They were definitely ones that I was thinking of as well. I think Virgin Megastores is another one. And what always stays prominent in my mind is when BlackBerry was really ahead of the market as well. And this was quite a while ago now, but I think when they heard this concept of having a phone that could do multiple things, you know, phone calls, email, internet, all that stuff, basically the head of BlackBerry thought it was crazy. Whereas Apple had been investing loads of time and energy thinking about what do customers need, what do they want, what does the data show, what technology is out there. And because of that, that's why they began to dominate the market, and BlackBerry did lose a huge amount of market share. So again, it's just, I suppose, a bit of an example to bring it to life. But thanks for sharing all of those examples. That's great. So just moving on then to some of the technology areas that we have, and also where our apprentices can do their placements, whether you join as a school leaver into audit or some of the other areas. A lot of the technology things we do cross over into all of the other departments because it's such a big focus for everything we do. So as you can see here, there are things like drones, robotics, things that you may not think about for a business like PwC. I'll just talk about one or two of them just to bring it to life. So one that always jumps out at me is cybersecurity, because whilst technology is an amazing thing and it's giving us all this access to data and clouds and everything else, there's obviously a risk involved as well. And some of the things you may have seen in the news over the last few years have been banks that have had customer details accessed by hackers, and even ATM machines that have been accessed by people who shouldn't be doing that. So a lot of the work that we do is about how can we make sure that companies have the correct systems in place so they're really robust and secure. And obviously that's not just important for the company, but also the customers and anybody else that relies on the fact that their information is kept private. So that's one area, and it's growing at a really big rate. Another one is data analytics. So a stat that I saw the other day is something like 95% of the data that we have existing today has been created over the last 2 years. So that's massive. And the amount of data that is out there that companies often have at their fingertips, they often just don't have the knowledge or expertise or the time to be able to analyze it and know what to do with it. So quite often what we do at PwC is we use our systems and our knowledge and experts to be able to help them interpret that data. Because quite a lot of the time it helps them to think about, well, who are your customers and what's the demographic, and you know, what products are selling really well, which locations are doing better than others, and we can really add value. A lot of the time, if companies invested in this, they probably could do it themselves, but like I say, a lot of them just don't have the knowledge or time to do that. So that's another very big area for us. Where do you fit in with all of this? So as I've mentioned before, we don't recruit clones. We really just look for people who are passionate. And if you enjoy solving problems and you love the idea of working with clients, I think it's a really good balance between having those sort of relationships that you can build, and you know, you're not just sat at your computer. Particularly in technology, you don't just code all day long. You have to have that ability to be able to explain something that might be quite complex to somebody that has no idea about technology, and be able to build that relationship with them and to enable them to trust you. So it's that real combination, like I say, of communication and passion for whichever role you want to do. And I'd also add that even if you don't have any experience, that's fine, because for the majority of our roles, if not, I would say 99% of them, we don't look for any relevant work experience. It's much more about you and your sort of experiences that you've had in lots of areas, you know, through sessions and workshops that you've done through Pathway that shows already that you've gone above and beyond. And also any sports that you might be involved with, or any virtual things that you've been doing. You know, obviously you have to think probably a bit more creatively in a COVID world, because we haven't got that ability to meet face to face. But, you know, somebody that shows leadership skills in one example, such as, you know, being head of a netball team, could also show leadership skills by having caring responsibilities. And they're two very different examples, but one is not better than the other. It's all about how you pull it across and how you show that passion. So I just want to reassure people that, you know, if you're studying subjects like English, history, arts, we love seeing people from those backgrounds. And I think that's what makes us successful, is that we do have people that have different backgrounds and their different opinions that can really help bring new ideas to the way that we work here. So if you're interested in technology, the main route in at PwC at the school entry route is through the technology degree apprenticeship. So this is a really, really cool opportunity, because not only do you get to gain a degree, but you also have your tuition fees paid and you receive a monthly salary. So it really is a win-win. So the title of the degree varies slightly depending on the university. So you can see that we run this at the moment in conjunction with the University of Birmingham, Leeds and Queen's Belfast. The entry requirements vary depending on the uni, so you just need to have a look. But it's anywhere between 3As and 3Bs. There are also reduced offers available for anybody that's from a widening participation background. So you just have to, like I say, check the university website. But you know, don't be put off by those offers if that could be you. It's 4 years in length. You tend to have your first year as a student, so you get to enjoy that fresher experience, and then you have 2 summer placements, and then you have your placement year, like you would for a lot of sort of sandwich years, depending on the course at university. So it's a really good mix of the two. And all you need is to make sure you get that 2-1, and then you'll join us straight after as well. So we do have Kirfi here, who I know has lived and breathed being on this programme. So it'd be great to just hear your experience, Kirfi.
Hi guys, so my name's Kirfi. I'm a, oh sorry, I think there's an echo, hopefully that's gone now. But I'm a technology degree apprentice with PwC, and I'm currently studying computer science at the University of Birmingham. So a bit about my background: I studied maths, further maths, computer science and physics at A level. I was actually inspired to get into technology at quite a young age by my dad, because he works in the tech sector, but I didn't really understand what it was. But I studied computer science at GCSE and A level, and I really loved it, and I thought this is the career that I want to pursue. When I was in year 12, I actually did the Digital Insight Week with PwC, and I got to learn some really great stuff and meet some really good people. And this is actually where I found out about the technology degree apprenticeship. And I thought it was a really great program. It was exactly what I wanted, because I always wanted to go to university, but I knew how important it was to get work experience. So this combined the two, and I didn't need to worry about things like applying for internships while I was at university, and I could just focus on being a student and meeting new people and doing societies. And it's also a great perk that our tuition is paid and that we get a full salary. So I applied, and luckily I did get in. And I really loved studying at the University of Birmingham. I've met some amazing people, and the modules are really interesting. You get to do things like cybersecurity, robotics, functional programming. So I definitely recommend. Currently, I am doing my placement year, and I sit in a team called Decision Analytics in UKIT. My team uses machine learning and data analytics to gain insights for the stakeholders. I've really enjoyed working on my team. I've been able to learn a range of new technologies and products, and I've been able to work on things like web applications, develop chatbots, and a lot more. Another thing that I really like about working at PwC is that I get to be involved with a lot of people networks. So I'm very passionate about diversity inclusion and increasing the number of women in tech. So I've been able to organise events for our Women in Tech network and our diversity inclusion network as well. Oh, And I would say that for me, my career is something that challenges me and allows me to develop my knowledge. And I know at the moment with COVID, it's been quite hard to maintain a good work-life balance, but I like to try and set things out that help me relax. So I'll set days to like bake a cake or do some painting.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm sorry I couldn't slide, Kirsty. Problem with my fingers too fast. Sarah, have any questions come through at all for Kirsty at all?
Well, I think more questions will come through, like if we have time for the panel at the end.
Perfect, that's great. I have a question for you, Kirsty, it's okay. What made you choose this route overall compared to any of the other options, whether it be at PwC or elsewhere? What made it stand out for you? And is there anything that you wish you'd known that you now know yourself?
I think the technology degree apprenticeship at PwC really stood out to me because unlike other apprenticeships, I'm a normal university student during the year. Like I can go to university full time and then focus on doing work during my summer placements in industry. Whereas with other apprenticeships, you like work 2 days and study 2 days. So I liked the kind of divide of being able to focus on one thing at a time. I think another thing about PwC is just I really love the people. Like when I did the Digital Insight Week, I thought it was really amazing and like it was just a great environment to be in, and I thought I would learn a lot. Something I wish I knew is that definitely take every opportunity that kind of comes to you and reach out to people, even if you think, oh, they might not respond. The worst that can happen is they'll say no. So you really have to try for those opportunities. For example, like if you see someone working in a role that you think you might want to enter, why not just send them a message on LinkedIn and ask them if they'd be willing to like tell you a bit more about what they do.
I do
Really
have
good
one
advice.
quick question as well, Scarlett. I just like again, it's so interesting to hear the kind of journey that you went through, and I love the fact that you put the inspiration of your dad and things. And some people maybe on the line has been having that conversation with their parents recently, saying, what route should I go down? Apprenticeships, university? How was that conversation, I guess, around your influences and whether an apprenticeship or a university was the right route, and how did you come down the route that you chose with that conversation between you and your parents?
I think for me it was actually quite shocking that I ended up going kind of down the degree apprenticeship route, because since I was younger I thought, oh, I'm going to university. I never considered any other option, which was why I was so fortunate to have discovered something like the technology degree apprenticeship, because I was able to go to university and I am like a normal university student, but I get all the added benefits of being an apprentice, like the experience and also making those connections in industry. And also one other great thing that I would mention about the technology degree apprenticeship is that I'm not tied into the company afterwards. If I want to leave, I can leave. Not that I would want to. I do really like working here. But it's been good to see kind of like a different route that I think a lot more people should really consider nowadays, because university can be quite expensive. So you should think, is this really the route that I want to go down?
Yeah, definitely. And especially at the moment as well, because, you know, I really feel for students that are at university and aren't necessarily getting that experience and still paying the full tuition fees as well as things stand. So yeah, thank you, Kirsty. I think that was a great overview, and hopefully we'll have time for more questions later. There was one question that I saw come up again, which was, are we considering partnering with any London universities? It is something we're looking into. So watch this space is what I would say. And if we do end up going down that route, then it will be available on our website for you to have a look at. So I'm just going to touch a little bit on accounting, but because those that are interested in finance and that sort of thing, I thought it'd be helpful just to explain what we do. So if you are interested in finance, then the main routes in would be either audit, tax, or deals. Audit, again, is a very different place to what it was even just a couple of years ago. I mentioned technology before, and technology is really transforming audit. One of the things that might bring that to life for you is we're using things like drones to do stock counts. And we're using artificial intelligence to be able to have almost learning-based systems that can predict things for us so that we're not having to do that manually. So audit is a really interesting area, and as I said before, it's not like being an accountant for one business that you're just working in and seeing all the data all the time. You're doing finance for lots of different companies, so your exposure and your variety is huge. And tax is another very interesting area. You can be doing anything from corporate tax to VAT tax, to looking at tax issues internationally, particularly for big organisations where they might have offices in lots of different countries where the rules for tax are different. Equally, you may have seen in the news the kind of whole debate around tax avoidance, tax evasion, and all of the sort of bad stuff that maybe people are doing that they shouldn't be. So we give a lot of advice to companies about that. I would say in terms of a career in tax, it does tend to be more office-based. So if you prefer having a bit more variety and several clients at a time, rather than doing a bit more travel like you would in audit, and only potentially working on one client at a time, then that can be really suited depending on the type of person that you are. And I mentioned deals. It's a really good mix of having that audit qualification, but also getting more involved in things like companies that are becoming insolvent or at risk of insolvency, so at risk of disappearing off the market, helping them to merge with other companies, buying another company or selling themselves. So it's quite commercial if you like the sound of that. So what do we actually offer our clients in these sorts of spaces? So lots of specialist knowledge. I mentioned about drones and how that's transforming the way that we're working. Before, back in the olden days, if we worked for, say, Coca-Cola and they had loads of bottles in their factory, we would have people physically going into the factory, looking at the expiry dates, looking at how many there are, taking a sample. Whereas now we have drones, as I say, that can fly over and can actually look at that for us and do a lot of that legwork that is much easier for us, so that you're actually doing more of the consultation side and the relationship building. You do get to work at client site quite a lot, and for some people they really love that part about the job. Often we'll try to make sure that you're working in clients that are nearby the office, and obviously at the moment we're doing that virtually, but as things go back to normal, I think there will be a really good work-life balance where probably where we've worked a lot more at client site, there might be a chance to do that a bit less, so that you're not having quite as much commuting journey. I know for lots of young people that doesn't really seem to be an issue, but as you get older and more tired like me, you might find that it's not as attractive. So I think that work-life balance is also going to be a big thing. And of course, how do we offer client support? We run loads of our events in the office and webinars and things to help them too. So onto the Flying Start accounting programme. This is similar to the technology degree apprenticeship, but the main thing to highlight is it's not a degree apprenticeship, it's a degree programme with integrated placements. So the title again varies slightly depending on the university, but we offer this at Manchester, Newcastle, Nottingham, Reading. Again, 4 years in length, a similar structure where you'd have your first year as a student, and then you'd have your summer of your first year and your summer of your second year on placement, and then a whole third year on placement. What's really great about this, if you know that you're interested in finance and gaining that qualification, is that you would gain 12 out of the 15 ACA exams, which means that you're almost a chartered accountant. So you actually join PwC on the second year of the graduate scheme, as opposed to joining just on the first year. So again, it gives you that head start. Entry requirements again are fairly high at AAA or 2 A's and a B, but as I mentioned with the tech degree apprenticeship, there are lower offers available depending on your background and circumstances. And for any of the programs, we always consider mitigating circumstances especially, so please do tell us if that would relate to you. So looking at the application process and next steps, we've got UCAS application for the Flying Start programs. We've then got the online application form, which is very straightforward. We have the PwC online assessment, which is basically the game-based tests, which I'll give you some hints and tips for in a moment. Then a video interview, and then an assessment centre. And the assessment centre is pretty much the final stage. And results day is when we obviously double check the grades and then would go through the offer process again. But the UCAS side is only for Flying Start degree programs. Otherwise, you just apply through us on the website for any of the school leaver roles. I'm just looking on here and thinking, where is Megan's side? I'm wondering if I have somehow missed it somewhere. But I can't. Pardon?
It was after mine.
Oh, did I miss it straight after? I'm so sorry, Megan. You must have thought, what a horrible person to just skip straight by it.
You're in the flow. I didn't want to disrupt the flow of everything. It's all right. I was going to jump in at the end anyway, so it's fine.
Perfect. I'm so sorry. You go for it, Megan, because I think actually just speaking about accounting and tax, it would be great to hear your journey and for you to bring it to life.
Yeah, I mean, so I've studied A-levels in maths, economics and sociology, and a bit like Jake, I didn't get to sit my A-levels because of COVID and that, so it was a weird one, getting sort of predicted grades from your teachers. It's not the best when, mock exams you don't really take as serious as you probably should, and that's what they're basing your grades on. But luckily managed to get the grades to obviously get into the apprenticeship. Through school, I enjoyed school for the social side of it. I can't say I enjoyed lessons as much as other people. One lesson I did enjoy was maths. I just always liked maths, numbers, just liked working with them. And I guess the only struggle I would say is that during school you didn't really have the opportunity to network with people who work in a role that you sort of want to go into. So I mean, I know schools now there's quite a lot of opportunities. So to sort of echo what a lot of people have said is take them opportunities, talk to people as much as you can, get a bit of background. So when it comes to sort of deciding a career, in a way it's quite a big thing, especially when you're just leaving school. I guess for me it's a weird one, but my granddad is self-employed, and so he would always have a tax return every year. And I just used to be like this little person, like, oh, what's granddad? What's that? What's this? What's that? We just it just used to interest me. So I guess that's probably why I sort of decided I should go into tax a little bit. And then I guess just having conversations with my teachers in school about things that interest me, they sort of pointed me in the right way. And then I guess working at PwC itself, I mean, joining during a pandemic, it's been a bit crazy, but they've done everything they can to make you feel welcome. There's loads of, like Jake said, social events, and everyone sort of takes their time to sort of explain something to you over like a call. They don't just sort of forget about you, like you're not forgotten about at all. They make sure, I know in my role, I actually work on chargeable work with some clients. I think I've got about 9 clients that I work on, and I mean, straight away from the start, you're sort of trusted to produce work, and they trust you because they just want to invest their time into you. A lot of people at PwC definitely have your development probably like at the front of their mind. They want to invest time into you because at the end of the day, it makes their job easier if you know what you're doing. And then I guess just everyday work. I'm obviously studying towards a tax qualification, so balancing like work during the day and then studying for the exams can sometimes be kind of hard. But everyone's really understanding that most people have been through the same experience as you, so they know how difficult it can be. So like people are really easy to talk to. So if you're struggling, you've got a lot of work going on, but you need to revise after work, it's easy to have them conversations, which I really like, and there's no sort of pressure on you, and everyone just gets it. And I remember there was a live stream once. There's like loads of live streams you can join, and they basically said that they want you to take breaks. They don't want you to work all day and drain yourself. Like, breaks are encouraged. So I do sort of make sure to take some breaks and just sort of wander around my house, or at lunchtime go out for a walk just to get some fresh air. But yeah, I've enjoyed my 6 months of working from home so far at PwC. So yeah, it's been good.
Amazing. Thanks, Megan. That's really helpful. And tax, I know you mentioned you sort of saw your family be involved, and you know that was probably what sparked your interest. How do you find that balance between being in the office versus maybe people in other departments that are, you know, was that something you considered, and do you like having that kind of more daily office environment?
Yeah, I guess so. So you saying like working like a computer? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, well, a lot of our audit school leavers, for example, might actually work at client sites, so they'll travel to those client sites. Whereas in tax, often you do tend to be in the office a lot more regularly.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I mean, the role that I work in GMS, which is Global Mobility, which you was talking about earlier. So I actually have quite a lot of client-facing conversations. We speak to clients like all day, every day. So you're always meeting someone new, someone who's got this sort of loads of different experiences in life. They're going to all these different countries. Probably should have explained what I do. We just sort of advise companies on the tax implications of them sending an employee abroad, and we just help them with their tax returns and to get their tax affairs right. So yeah, you speak to people like from all different ages, going to countries every day that you know you don't know much about, but you have to sort of learn about those countries because you need to know what the tax is like in them countries. And yeah, every day something new, and it's really nice. It's refreshing.
That's really good. And we've actually had a question for you as well, Megan, that they've asked for your qualification. Do you learn the exams yourself, or do you have lectures, lessons, support? What does that look like?
So we have college, so you sort of get like 2 days here and there. We had them in October, and then in November, had some in February, and we've got some coming up in March. At the moment they're obviously online, but usually they'd be in person. They're sort of like an all-day thing where you get taught the content by a lecturer, as I guess. It's quite like A-level style of teaching. And then you sort of get provided with all the information, and then it is sort of on you to learn the content. But PwC give you like study days, so you're prepared for the exam, which obviously you're paid for, and on college days you're also paid, although you're not working, just because it's part of the scheme. So yeah, it is virtual right now, and I assume it'll go back to being like college taught in the future.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that is definitely the plan, that you would go to college so you get that kind of student feel as well as working.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Fabulous. I've been answering some questions on the Q&A chat as well. Sarah, I don't know if you get the chance to have a look at those too, then you can answer any questions that come up. I'm very conscious of the time, so I'm going to keep skipping through and go back to where I was. I had a question about, well, what does the process look like for Virtual Insight Week? The good news is it's very short. So all we need you to do is an application form, which is just asking for basic information, and then just game-based assessment. So if you apply by this Sunday, the 14th of March, that's perfect. And then you'll be invited to take those game-based assessments. And any questions about that, I'm very happy to answer them. This process here is more if you apply later on for a follow-up role like a school leaver or degree route. I mentioned about the employability hub. So again, you've got a QR code here which you can use, which will take you straight there on your phones. Loads of good tips here around how to do well for interviews, assessment centres, even well-being as well, which I think is a really important topic at the moment, especially. So hopefully you'll find that useful. And then just finally, as long as our ambassadors don't mind staying on for a few more minutes, if there are any other final questions, please do let us know. Sarah, I don't know if there's anything that's come through from you at all.
Yeah, so one of the questions that's come through is, how did you find the selection process?
It's hard to say really. It was a couple of years ago, but so when I was applying for the Business Insight Week, I had all 5 different stages. So I went through like a situational assessment and the game-based assessment, and like 3 other assessments and a video interview. So it is quite challenging because they are testing a lot of skills there and kind of how you think and how you problem solve. But at the same time it was quite enjoyable, and obviously they're really well made with like videos and graphics, so it's good. You need to do your research beforehand and shut yourself off in a room for a couple of hours, but it's a good process. I think it's a really fair process as well, rather than just like a one-off interview that some places might do. It you've got a few different chances to kind of show what you can do.
That's great. And also to add on to that as well, that the process is obviously a lot shorter these days. So you just do the application form, the game-based assessments, the interview, and then the assessment centre. So there's no final stage interview anymore. And obviously, like I said, it's a lot shorter process to get onto Virtual Insight Week. Are there any other questions, Sarah, that have come through that maybe some of the others could answer?
Yeah, so one of the questions that's come through is, how did you feel about the shift from going straight from school to being employed?
I guess I was just going to answer. It was kind of different because, we had that big break from about March to September because of COVID, where you sort of spent every day doing nothing, and then you sort of had to start working. But you get your laptop and everything. Well, we got our laptop like a week in advance, so you can get familiar with everything. And then the first sort of 2 weeks, maybe, you spend a lot of it on sort of like calls, and it's a lot of like introductions. So you sort of get eased into that work life pretty like at a gradual pace. A lot of it is like some training and stuff that you have to complete. But it's been all right, I guess. You go to school around the same sort of time. It's just you're just working a little bit later. And I mean, if you go into somewhere that you enjoy what you do, is like you're not really working, are you? You're enjoying the time, and the time does fly.
Yeah, so it was good having however many months it was off, like 6 months off, and then obviously knowing we had that start date. If anything, I was quite excited to start, because as much as I was enjoying relaxing and doing nothing and whatever, it is something to do, and I was excited to just kick off and start, meet everyone. And yeah, as Megan was saying, first 2 weeks was like an induction, loads of calls and explanations, but even for the first like 2 or 3 months, everyone's kind of aware that you're new and you don't really know what you're doing, so you do really get eased into the work and taught everything properly. And yeah, you're not like thrown in completely at the deep end, so it was good.
Good. And do I have time to just ask one more question?
Yeah, definitely go for it.
So I'll direct this one toward Keithy. So why did you choose to study a degree like over doing one of our apprenticeship schemes?
I think it really came down for me, as I mentioned before, to wanting to go to university, and I always saw myself going to university and getting that degree. So that was just something that was important to me, so I wanted to.
Okay, great, and that's everything from me. Thanks you all for answering those questions.
I just had a question as well, asking about the accountancy programme, and are the universities listed the only ones that you can access the programme with? And currently those are the only universities that we're working with, but as I say, we're always in potential conversations with others, so watch this space on that one. If you do decide that you just want to study something you're passionate about and go to university, then obviously you can join through the normal graduate entry route as well, and there's loads of opportunities in your first year, second year. So basically, whichever route you choose, there's a way to gain experience with us. And I had just one other question quickly. Is the application form the only thing that you need to complete before the 14th of March, this Sunday? Yes, just the application form. And then you've got time before you have to fill in, complete the game-based assessment. The deadline for that is on the website, so you can have a look. So yes, hopefully that's everything. I know quite a few of you have stayed on for a bit longer, so thank you. And thank you so much to everybody like Jake, Kirfi and Megan and Sarah for all of your support and guidance, and Ellie, of course, for organising the session. There is a form that I've put in here, which is just to give us some feedback on what more we could do, whether you'd like to have more info on a particular topic. We always try and do more. So if you wouldn't mind, once we finished, just putting your phone up against that and just letting us know your thoughts. It's really quick to fill in. We'd really appreciate that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Scarlett. And yeah, thank you, students. Just well done again for kind of getting involved today, and particularly this week. I know when it has been a busy one, and not to put too many forms in there, but I'm going to pop one in from a pathway side just to make sure, because every single person that has kind of attended today will get a follow-up call from us at Pathway CTM to really help you through the process for this virtual work experience. I know that people have been asking in the Q&A box, but Scarlett, I just wanted to kind of repeat that date for the deadline of the virtual work experience of the 14th, which is just coming up in a few days. So don't just sit here and think, oh, I'll do it in a few days, I'll do it at the weekend. Really do kind of put that front of mind, and we'll be in touch to really help you with that process. But I do say, start your applications today. Let us get going. This is the right time to do it. So we'll help you from a Pathway CTM side. Thank you again to all of the panelists. I completely agree, Scarlett. But just make sure you do get your applications in, because the fact you've been here tonight means that you're the right person to apply.
Definitely. Well, good luck, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll hang on for a few minutes just in case anyone wants those links, which are in the chat box. But yeah, feel free to kind of drop off. But if you need those links, I'll just kind of repost that, because we've got some great feedback in the chat box, which is really lovely to see. There's so many thank yous in there. So well done, everyone. And do just take a few minutes to make sure that you do complete those surveys for us, just to make sure that we can make these sessions as good as possible for you.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. I'm going to head off, Ellie. My husband needs to tutor. He's desperate to get in. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, and for any students that are still about, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, thanks, Scarlett. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.